Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. We are back on the dev server for update line of contact, and it is time to have a look at the airplanes which they are adding in this major update. There's a bunch of them. Many of them are just copies of previous ones with a few upgrades, but there are some unique ones, and unfortunately a lot of them are premiums. So let's have a look through them, and let's also talk about a few other updates that they've done to some of the vehicles too. As always, if you enjoy the content, make sure to subscribe and also like the video. Let's get started. The first vehicle that you can see before you is a big one. It is the FA-18E. And this is the Super Hornet. This year has been really the year of the Hornet when it comes to War Thunder. The FA-18E crowns off the FA-18s in the American tech tree. You have the A, you have the C late, you also have the C early, and now the E at the end of the road. This vehicle in ground is 13.0, and in air it is going to be 14.3, mainly down to its radar and also its vast amount of weapons that it gets access to. Just to kind of show you all of the weapons that it has, we will have to go through two screens to show you everything. So first of all, we'll do the air-to-air side of things. You have the AIM-9Ms, which if you want, you can actually bring 12 of, if you're an absolute mad lad, or you can bring 12 AIM-120Bs or 12 AIM-120C5s, plus 2 AIM-9Ms on the side of it, which I think is probably more what people are going to go for. You also have access to the JDAM glide bombs, the ERs. You have all of the other general bombs that you would find from American vehicles in War Thunder, including all of the paveways alongside the ATFLIR targeting pod, which can help you out from extremely long ranges in the game. You also get napalm if you really feel like it, but I think the major things are going to be stuff like the LJDAMs, the Mavericks, which this has access to in the form of the Fs and also the Es, and then also a more recent addition to a lot of airplanes in the American tech tree, which is these AGR-20A rockets. Well, missiles technically, but yeah, they are laser-guided rockets or just missiles, depending on how you want to feel about them. So most people, I'm pretty sure, are just going to take this load out with all of the AIM-120s, plus access to a few AIM-9Ms on the side of it. The vehicle also has access to the General Electric F414G 400s, so no real change there. And the bigger change is with this. This is the ANAPG 79. You can see that this is a TWS ESA radar. It can target 40 people at the same time, and also it can show DL targets up to 12 and missiles shown up to 12 with all the NCTR stuff and all of the other little bells and whistles you would want, including the HMS, meaning that you could grind or you can guide stuff in and not just from where your plane is looking. The other part of it is it does have GMTI, so you can use it on the ground as well, having a look at what's all over there. You also have the 20mm, which is standard with all of these American vehicles, and you have the AN/ALR 67 V3 RWR, which has access to a massive amount of really nice features too. So this vehicle has everything you would want, including an IRST on top of it, because why not? So of course, this vehicle is going to be 14.3. It's going to be hyper maneuverable, it's going to have access to a lot of weaponry, and be useful in pretty much every single game mode. So not too surprising that people will really look forward to this vehicle. The next one is the FR1 Fireball. Now, the FR1 Fireball is a vehicle which has come in pretty late in War Thunder's life cycle for vehicles from the Second World War or just slightly post Second World War. Technically, the FR1 is a 1945-46 vehicle, which didn't last long in service because the jet era turned up and there wasn't really much point in actually playing or getting a vehicle like this, and it also had a lot of problems in terms of its actual flight ability and mechanical issues because this thing has dual propulsion. You have the Wright R1820 72W in the front, which powers the propeller, and then also you have a jet engine in the back, the General Electric J31 GE3. So this means that it has mixed propulsion, it's able to go forward and actually at a pretty decent click in terms of a lot of other vehicles that are around its BR. It's rank 3, battle rating 4.7, mainly down to the fact that it doesn't have a very good armament. You have 450 cals. These are M2 Brownings, which isn't as good as M3s, but still okay. Since it's a late war vehicle, it has access to the API-T belts, which are really good in terms of it. And then also you get access to some secondaries too. So you get access to the HVARs. You can bring 4 of them. But the major thing you're going to bring is the 1,000-pounders or the magnetic mines, which you will find here, which also deliver quite a punch. So you're pretty much getting a kind of pseudo-CAS vehicle or a decent dogfighter at the 4.3 BR at rank 3. But the problem for this vehicle, since it's at rank 3 in the premium section, there's just so many vehicles here which are already really good for America. And then also you have so many vehicles here that are really good for America too. So it's just a very, very hard sell in terms of this vehicle. It does look beautiful. Its historic significance is very important, especially with its mixed propulsion nature. But generally, I just don't really see the point in playing this thing if you already have played War Thunder previously, unless you have a really, really big connection to this vehicle. It also does have a little bit of armor on it, so at least you have that too. The next vehicle we're going to be having a look at is the Eurofighter. Now, the Eurofighters are getting a big upgrade, and it's coming in the form of a new variant to the vehicle. So now in the tech trees, so this is for Britain, for Italy, and also for Germany, you are getting an AESA version of the Eurofighter. So you can see it here in the German tech tree. In the British tech tree, you can see it after the Tornado FGR4, and then also in the Italian tech tree, you can find it after the F2000A. So basically, they are just giving you a new vehicle which has access to a new upgrade, and that's really about it. And that kind of shows how big of an upgrade this is, and also how much people have been looking forward to it. So for this version of the Eurofighter, they've added a new radar, which is signaled by the AESA setup. This radar is firing all of the different missiles and all the different bells and whistles. And what they've also done, but not just these Eurofighters, but also the previous Eurofighters, so the ones without the AESA radar, they have added double pylons for all the AIM-120s. So this means that you can see here that you can now bring more of the AIM-120s. Instead of being able to bring 6, you can now bring 8, which I think is quite nice when it comes to these wing hardpoints on the vehicle itself. So increasing your armament, mainly because they've also added a bunch of other vehicles in the game, which are pretty good. So the big upgrade is this, the Captor-E model radar. It has access to TWS-ESA, 40 targets shown, and then all of the other bells and whistles that you can see here. If you want to slow it down and see it, you can see it there. Technically, this German Eurofighter also has access to IRST, which is kind of nice, but mainly you're here for the radar and its usefulness in tandem with the AMRAAMs, the AIM-120C5s. So that is something that gives it a little bit more in terms of it, but yeah, it's good luck grinding out a full new vehicle just to get access to a radar when you have to grind out all of the different modifications again. I'm sure you'll have a fantastic time doing that. And the next vehicle we're going to have a look at is the DBLK. By the way, the MiG-25 PD is here. This one isn't coming in the next major update. Pretty sure this is going to be the winter event vehicle. I just have it because of reasons. So the next vehicle is the DBLK. This is another weird and wonky premium that's being added, and I don't know how to describe it apart from somebody took some drugs or somebody drank too much and was like, you know what, let's just do some crazy things. And that's exactly what you see here. The DBLK is kind of an early pre-World War II vehicle, which was designed around the large wing idea for a long-range bomber. And therefore, it has access to some really weird and wonderful flight model characteristics, and also some weird and wonderful factors. So number one, this thing is powered by 2 Tamansky M87Bs, which weren't supposed to be the engines which were on this thing, but the other engines were just not ready and they didn't work very well. One thing I do want to point out about these engines is somebody has actually gone to the effort to actually model them pretty well, including adding this ring to them, which I think is just really nice. The other part of it is the guns that this thing has access to. So number one, you have these two turret gunners right here. Now, these guys actually operate two sets of two single guns. So you have one which looks out the back. This one actually rotates around this. So therefore you have more of like a 360-degree view. And then also there is just one which pokes straight upwards. So if somebody attacks you from above, you are able to actually hit them, which I think is actually kind of cool. Then you have this set of guns over here. Now, you may look at this and be like, oh, wow, cool. I have some offensive armaments. I can actually use these shikasses. No, this is a turret. So therefore, they're not linked to the pilot. So you actually have to control them as a turret instead of an offensive armament. And that is just really annoying. So this actually shimmies a little bit side to side. And that means that you'll have to actually use it in a different way. So not very fun. The vehicle also has access to bombs, being a bomber, kind of an important thing. It does have some funny bomb bays, which are in these vehicles themselves. So on one half of the, fuselages, I suppose, is where the wheel goes. And then on the other half is where the bomb goes. And it just looks so ridiculous. Like the bomb bay on this thing. It can also carry some big old boys. So you can carry some 1,000-kilo bombs. So this thing in ground forces or naval forces, especially at such a low BR, will be able to bring in some tonnage and just annihilate certain areas, which I feel like is generally how people are going to use this. It does have some AP bombs. It does have some many different styles of bombs. So maybe you can take out some bases with it. But generally, I just don't really know what you're going to do with this thing, like in a big way. It's probably not going to be that useful. It does have a bombardier, which is this guy. So you do have the bombing sight, which is nice. It does have a little bit of armor to keep these two alive. Not a huge amount, but, you know, it's at least something for the vehicle. And the major thing, I've got to be honest with this, is it's just really wonky. Like, you have the two engines at the front, which is fair, but this area back here, the way that it works, you have the flaps, which go up and down. The rudder is here. Then you have two sets of like weird elevator / flap things which move as well. It's just insane as a vehicle, and I think that's really fun. Like, look at this here. You have like a dual elevator, you've got a rudder, and then you have the massive flaps, and then obviously the engines too. So it's just a bit of fun. I just wish it wasn't a premium, because a rank 1 in this tech tree, you already have the Hampton, you already have the TB3M, you have the Catalina, you have the MBR2. Why did this thing need to be a premium? I don't understand. But yeah, so it's there. And it'll be useful at annihilating stuff in ground, and that's pretty much it. So once again, we have the Typhoon AESA for the British. There's no real difference between this and the Eurofighter we saw from Germany. Moving on to the Japanese. Now, the Japanese are getting a lot of upgrades, and they're getting them because of other nations that are coming in, and also other nations that are already there. So number one, you have the FA-18D Late. This is the dual cockpit or two-seater version of the FA-18C Late. There you go. Which is already in other tech trees. So this one, for some reason, is after the G8N one. Don't think they're going to stay there, but just to let you know, this is where they are in the tech tree. A very, very weird place where it is, but this is very similar to what you'll see from the FA-18C Late. So it has the AN APG-73 radar, which is the TWS Plus, so not as good as the AESA radar, but still pretty nice. You also have access to the ALR 67V3 RWR to keep you going. And then also you have the highly detailed F404G 402 engines, which are here too, which look really cool on the X-Ray nowadays. Now, this vehicle also gets access to all the MRAMs, so you can bring 10 of them, not 12 like the new Super Hornet, but it's still kind of nice. And then also the AIM-7s, the AIM-9Ms, and all of the different bombs and craziness that you can find from this. So this gives Japan access to a CAS vehicle, which is something that they were struggling with in general. So it's just nice to see them get an FA-18. On top of this, they're also getting the other side of the equation. So they're getting a Western vehicle, and they're also getting an Eastern vehicle. And that Eastern vehicle is the Su-30 MKM. This vehicle is very similar to what we saw from the Venezuelan Su-30, which they recently added, but I would actually say this is more similar to the Su-30SM in terms of its ground ordnance and its general use. That's why it's 14.3 and not a little bit lower. It has the Saturn AL-31FPs. You saw where it was in the tech tree just after the FA-18D late, and it has access to the N011M radar, which is, guess what, an ESA radar. It can only target up to 15 people though, so not as good as some of the others that we have, but it gives Japan access to an AESA radar, which has some nice bells and whistles. You have a pretty crazy RWR as well, the SPO-150-30, and then also the Morse system, which is in tow. Now, the modifications on this thing, more than half of them are weapons, which is always lovely to see. And since it is an Su-30 platform, you can bring up to 14 missiles on the vehicle, including the RVV-SDs, which are the R-77s, the R-27ERs, which are, well, the R-27ERs, and then also the R-73s, which are the all-aspect IRCCM IR missiles from the Russians. So from an air-to-air perspective, you are mainly, if not only, getting access to Russian equipment. What I find kind of weird is you can bring the R-27ETs, but only on specific pylons. And I've seen this on other vehicles, and I kind of wondered if people know why this is, because at least to me, I feel like they should be able to be used on other pylons, but I never actually see that happening, so it just seems a little bit weird. In terms of ground ordnance, they actually have a bit of a mix of stuff, which is kind of fun. It's mainly Russian, so you have like the guided bombs, and also you have the Damocles targeting pod to go along with them. So as I said, the best of both worlds, which is pretty nuts. You also have the Grom E2s, which are the glide bombs which come in, and also should have access to a bit of a boost on the back of them maybe, or that might just be the Grom 1s if I remember. Then you have the KH-29s, you have the KH-38MTs, the World Enders as they are known, and then also you have access to some of the other stuff such as the Pavoy bombs on the vehicle as well. So mainly Russian armament, but there are some Western stuff which is kind of thrown in too, which I generally think is pretty fun. So yeah, kind of nice to see this vehicle and giving Japan another pretty good vehicle at the highest echelons. I feel like that has been something that is happening a lot for Japan recently, and obviously should be celebrated. Then we have the Hawk 209. So this is a pre-order vehicle, which has been added to the Japanese tech tree. It's an Indonesian vehicle, and it's just an export variant of the Hawk. So it has a lot of similar factors that you will see from other Hawk variants. For example, it has the Rolls-Royce Turbomeca Limited Adore Mark 871. It also has access to similar weaponry, but not exactly fantastic weaponry in terms of the vehicle. So it gets two AIM-9 P4s, which are pretty much just AIM-9Ps with the LCK head, or at least similar to the LCK head. So they can actually target enemies way further out than you can actually fire the missiles from, and it just makes it a little bit annoying to use. I don't like the AIM-9 P4s. They don't really work too well thematically in my head. Then you have, of course, the AGM-65G, which is why you purchase this thing, because you actually want to use it as a CAS vehicle. You also get the Sea Eagles as well. But as you can see, one of the problems that this vehicle has is it doesn't have a lot of weaponry. You either have two air-to-air missiles, or you have two air-to-ground missiles, or two anti-ship missiles. So you are severely limited compared to a lot of other vehicles around this BR because of that. You also have access to some dumb bombs, some rockets, but no incendiaries or anything like that. And also you have this gun in the middle, which unfortunately you can just never get rid of, even though it is very chunky. But maybe the idea is to actually, you know, give you something after you get rid of some of your missiles that are on this vehicle. The gun is a 30mm Aiden Mark IV, and it is a chunky monkey, as you can see here, definitely protruding. And it has 120 rounds worth of ammunition, which has all of the standard ammunition that you would find from an Aiden. Since it's a premium, you get access to all of the different factors on it for free, but you do have to buy it. It's going to be a rank 7 vehicle, so it's going to be able to research all of the tech tree by itself, which is quite nice, but I just don't know if it's going to be as useful as something like an F4EJ, which they recently removed from the tech tree, which is kind of sad. Another thing to also mention about this vehicle, if you want to use it for CAS, there's a big problem. There isn't a lineup for it. You can see the Japanese tech tree has a big problem, and that problem is that it goes from 9397 to 117. There's this huge gap in the middle of two BR brackets, like 2.0 BR brackets, where you just don't have anything. So what that means is this vehicle here, the Hawk, you would have to run at 11.7, and trust me, you do not want to run this vehicle at 11.7. It will not do well, especially if all you have is 2 Mavericks. So until there is an actual lineup around this thing, it's really, really hard to put this forward. The next vehicle is the J10C. The J10C is a large upgrade over the standard J10, which we've seen in War Thunder previously, the J10A, which you can see right here. If you remember, there was a full update that was actually around this thing. Another thing to also mention, there is supposed to be an Su-30 coming to China as well, but that is unconfirmed, and it isn't in the files or isn't in the dev server, so just want to let you know about that. The J10C, the major upgrade that this vehicle has is the KLJ-10A radar. This is once again an AESA radar with 20 targets and all of the other bells and whistles you would want from something like this. So that is the huge upgrade. It also has the Saturn AL31FN Series 3, which gives it a lot of afterburner thrust for the vehicle, moving it around very well. You also get the 23mm, which I've never been a fan of. And then also you have the RWR, the KJ8602A, along with the Morse system for this, which once again is okay. There are better versions out there. One of the other big upgrades for this vehicle, though, is the amount of missiles it can carry. So a lot of the problems with the high-tier Chinese vehicles is they cannot carry as much loads as a lot of their standard tech tree vehicles that you see in other nations. The J10C is a little bit better. It's still not fully there. Most vehicles are carrying 10 or 12 or 14 missiles, whereas this vehicle, if you take a full load, so 2 PLA-Bs, and then also the PL-12s, you're up to 10 missiles, which is a lot better than what we've seen previously. It also has access to some guided munitions, so you can bring along some Yings, the Yings 3, along with the targeting pod, which I just really like the name of, and then also the GB250s with it. You also have the LS-6250s, the glide bombs, and even some big old bombs if you want to bring those too, in the form of these laser-guided GB1000s. Maybe you can hit these from miles away. You also have the laser-guided JDAM type bombs, the LJDAMs, but these are the GB3s. These could be very good, especially with hitting spawns and stuff like that. But mainly, you're here for the air-to-air armament on this thing, which is a lot better than what you've seen previously. So upgraded performance, upgraded radar, more missiles, generally feels very, very good. Then you have the F2000 AESA, once again, the same as the other Eurofighters that we've talked about. There is also a vehicle for France that is worth mentioning, and it is the Rafale MF3R. Guess what? This is another vehicle that has access to an ESA radar, and this one has as good of a radar as you can find. It is the Tails RBE2 AESA, and it has 160 kilometers worth of range, and it can set up 40 targets on its TWS ESA, which is really, really good. Plus, it has the NTCR. It has 8 data link targets and 8 missiles shown at the same time. It's just a wonderful radar, which is probably the best in the game, if not nearly the best in the game. You also have access to the Morse system, an LWR, and also an RWR as well, giving you even more survivability than many other vehicles that are around. using the Sneckemer M88-2s to be able to move it about. And since this is kind of a naval version of the vehicle, what you'll find from it is it looks like it's kind of set up a little bit differently from the standard Rafale with this strengthened front wheel. And also it has like quite a large tail hook on the bottom of it, which I'm sure you'll be able to use. Now, in terms of weaponry, guess what? It has a lot. You have the 8 MICAs that you can bring along, or the 6 MICAs plus access to the Magic 2s if you want to. You can obviously just stick the MICAs on it. There's no different missiles compared to what you've seen previously, so still only the MICA EMs. They're still very good, so I don't know why you'd want anything more. Then you got the paveways to be able to weigh this thing down. Obviously the AESMs, the hammers, in all of the different variants of them. These are really powerful, the IR hammers. It's been seeing them a lot in battle, and they've just been annihilating things going around. And then also you have the paveways and the Damocles pod, which is a fantastic targeting pod on top of everything. So yeah, you have another Rafale. This one is in a different part of the tech tree from the CF3 though. You can actually find it after the Mirage 4000. So you'll have to go through this part instead of this one, since once again, it's a navalized version of the vehicle. And that's it. There isn't anything else in the other two nations for now. They might get stuff in the future, especially for Sweden. They were talking about on one of the dev streams that there's probably going to be another Gripen that is coming in, the E variant, but we haven't seen that yet. So that is all the air vehicles. As always, thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.
I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.